How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Very good. I'm chilly. It's snowing here today
Where are you located?
in Utah. It was like
Utah?
75 degrees on Sunday, and now it's snowing. So
It's going to be 92 degrees here in Austin today.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Now, like 3 months from now, I won't be jealous.
No, it's probably after the day you won't be jealous because a 100-degree day is quick. They said it's quick.
Yeah.
But the weather's been beautiful here.
Oh, it's so nice. No, I always say, like, I think this is maybe, I'm hoping it's our last storm. I don't know. It's not me. We always get so.
You're kind of cutting out at the end. Is it me or you that's doing that?
Hope I'm not cutting out. Let's see. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Not much better, yes.
Okay. I opened my computer up. I wonder if that's what's up. Yeah. Thank you for telling me. So, Adin, we're waiting for when he gets logged in. Have you done these before?
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah. Every day, all day long.
Lots of times.
Yeah.
So this is a like pretty informal Q&A. Tell me a little bit. I don't know very much about you, Adin, just kind of.
I'm in the fashion industry, but I do fashion and technology.
Awesome.
And so we are basically reinventing the whole industry from the ground up because the fashion industry doesn't understand technology and the technology industry doesn't understand fashion. But I've been working with Alden and a couple of other people for a while on hemp. And what we're going to do is utilize hemp as to reshore our industry back to the US because our goal is to reshore everything back to the US now.
Awesome. Okay, I love this. I love it.
And I work on another project, Better Carbon Solutions, and it's about carbon smart commodities. So we're creating NFTs and all the things on the blockchain. It's a whole different, I don't want to go into that, but I will if you need me to.
I love that.
I'm working on Web3 right now, all of the development of Web3 for our industry.
Okay.
We've focused in on AR, VR, MR, XR, and then we go to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then on top of the blockchain, we've already created our complete cryptocurrency decentralized financial system for our complete ecosystem. So
cool.
Yeah.
A lot of foreign language to me. Like sometimes I feel like I'm like a kid in a candy jar just staring.
That's what Alex said to me that he says, man, every time I talk to you, you send me off into another world. I said, but this is not another world. This is the world that we function in now. Most people just don't realize it's here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, or we don't understand it. I've been resistant about trying to understand because it's so foreign. Like crypto and blockchain, I attended a crypto or a blockchain event not too long ago, and somebody said, Mandi, think of it like this. Blockchain is like the internet and crypto is like an app. And I was like, oh, so then I was able to change my perspective as to, blockchain is like the backbone of all of these things that we can do on it. And crypto is like one piece that goes on to the blockchain. And until then, I didn't understand it.
Well, Web 1 was just the interconnectivity of the internet. Web 2 was your Facebook, your Twitter, your Google, and those guys.
Yeah.
Web 3 is about to banish all those guys from the face of the earth because Web 3 is about decentralization. Mm-hmm. And so your data, you'll own your own data, and you'll also own pieces of the tokens that are creating the decentralized apps. And it's going away from applications to decentralized applications. And so it'll be a whole different world for the big guys. And that's why you saw Facebook jump out there and patent the name Meta, because they're so far behind and they're not agile enough to make this transition. When you have too many employees and too much overhead, you can't make the transition that they have to make to move into this next dimension.
Their buildings that they're building are humongous. Like,
oh no, you should see the one here in Austin, 60 stories.
Yeah. There's one out here in Eagle Mountain that's 8 buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just in the beginning. They're like building.
You should see articles. I mean, you should see everybody. Everybody's coming in here building billion-dollar facilities here in Austin right now. It's every major company in the world's coming in here now.
Crazy. Okay, well, I'm going to run and go to the bathroom just real quick.
Okay.
I thought maybe he'd be logged on, but we'll see. I don't have anybody else in the waiting room yet. I think today's meeting will be.
How many is going to be on the panel, or is it just you said an open meeting?
Just you two. Yeah. Usually he originally said, hey, I've got a few friends I'd like to invite. And so yesterday when I was like, hey, who's coming on so I can invite? And he was like, what? I was like, okay, so we'll just randomly chat and talk. But there'll be, I usually get say 20 to 30 people for some, we kind of did some change and it kind of messed with our algorithms, but say we'll get 20 to 30 people, they get logged in today. A text message went out. We'll wait until about 5 after 1 or 5 after the hour before we get, officially logged in and started. I'll let Shane in real quick. Shane's a rock star member of one of our groups, and you guys can chat while I just run to the bathroom real fast. I feel like I get up out of bed and I sit right here all day long.
Hey, let me tell you, I done worn out during the pandemic. I've worn out 3 chairs. Okay.
Yeah, I feel that. Shane, I was just saying, I'm going to let you in the room before we get started. You guys are welcome to chat, but I have to run and use the potty really quick. And so I'm just saying, feel free to chat and you guys are welcome to talk. Sam's awesome. Shane's great too. He's a member of GHA, has been a rock star. He's got, I don't know how much of element 6 you want to chat about or talk about. You're on mute though, Shane. And I'll be back.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, how are you, Samuel?
I'm good, Shane. How about you today? Where are you located?
Doing well. I am in Louisiana. That's my home base.
In Texas. I'm your neighbor.
Oh, really? Okay, great.
I'm over in Austin.
Awesome. Cool. Mm-hmm. I'm in New Orleans, so equally cool.
Yeah. You're in another country. You're not just in another state. New Orleans is another country.
You're right.
And I love that. I love eating. I eat my way through. I go from Baton Rouge and just start eating from there on.
That's a good place to start. Yeah. I mean, actually, anything along I-10, I-12.
Yeah, they say Shreveport is a part of Louisiana. I said, no, that's East Texas.
It's not really. No.
That's East Texas.
Glad to know somebody understands that outside of the States.
Oh, yeah. No, I've eaten some incredible food. I remember the first time I ate crawfish down there, and I was in Baton Rouge, and the guy asked me, well, how many pounds do you want? I said, pounds? I said, well, how many do you usually start? He said, I usually start with 5. I said, you better start me with 2. And then he walks over to me. He says, no wonder you wanted 2 pounds. You're going to starve to death. Let me show you how to eat these things. And he showed me how to pop things and push them through my finger. And after that, man, I was a crawfish eating dude. I could eat 5 pounds, man.
I love it. That's so funny because last night I just had crawfish. Well, actually Sunday and yesterday. We had leftovers yesterday, but they're getting really big. And I mean, they were perfect. And there's a place it's a drive-through. You can actually go in through a drive-through and order by the pound, and then go around back where they're boiling and you pick them up. So it's
there's a place in Lafayette that we used to stop at there that it was just a big old pot in the middle of the room, and he had a basket that he dip it out with and throw it on the brown paper bag on the table with the corn and the sausage and all that,
Absolutely.
And you sit there and you didn't get plates or napkins or nothing. It was just brown paper. No, I love that state.
That's
Best
awesome.
food I've ever eaten anywhere in the world, Louisiana, especially.
Oh man, I'll take it. Hey, Adin.
Hey guys, how are you? Hi, Mandi.
Hey,
hi, Sam. How are you?
Good.
Now I'm on mute, or was. Lucky you guys.
I may have to. I'm gonna stay on, but I may have to pop off for a phone call. But I'll keep it on. So just waiting on that.
Perfect. I was just saying, I let Shane in the room early because I had to jump off for a minute, but we don't have anybody else logged in right now, and I don't know why I'm get anxious as heck right now when this happens. I was saying I changed a few things about our algorithms, and usually my event turns out okay, but usually we've got some people in the waiting room by now.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't mess up and send the wrong invite out. I've got people logging in now. So we'll, before we get started, do you have any questions? I assume we'll have a fairly small group, so we'll open it up for discussion, of course.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think 30 minutes is probably enough time for all this, right? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do.
I mean, if everybody involved are literally industry participants, then it'll be a really great collaborative discussions. If we have any newbies or uninitiateds or outsiders, then that'll be more interesting.
Yeah.
How it goes. But yeah, I'd love for both of you to be able to give an update about what you're working on and how we can support you. But I am a little nervous because we only have a couple people logged in. And so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to let them in and we'll just.
I don't know if there was Josh Rockwell's from my team. I don't know if there was if the email that went out to everybody said the 7th, because the link said the 5th. The email you guys sent me said the 7th. That's when I asked. I said, is it the 5th or the 7th? And you guys said it was the 5th. So it's the 5th on LinkedIn, but I don't know if the email said that went out to everybody may have said the 7th, because it did say the 7th originally to me.
Oh, great. Well, there you go. That's just one thing that is probably an error. Trying to get this figured out. We've been doing pretty good until just recently. We've had like a
It might be me. It just might be.
I don't think so. I would bet that that's probably not the case. But hello, everybody. As you guys are logging in, we're just going to give it a few more minutes for people to get logged in. If you have anything that you would like to share, by the way, hello, Nathan and Tim and Sandra, Zach, Josh, that you guys logged in. If you guys have anything that you'd like to share, anything awesome that's happening in the industry while we wait for a couple of minutes, you're welcome to give a little highlight. I'd love to see your faces. Like I said, I think this will be a pretty small group, fortunately. I don't know how to look at this. For those of you that don't know me, we usually have pretty big size groups on, and it causes me anxiety before we get started. And then everybody starts to log in a little bit later. But hi, Nathan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm eating a late lunch, which is why I'll probably be on off the face time a little bit. I don't think I've met Adin before, but I had heard about your company just earlier this week, so I found it very ironic to get a text to say, hey, there's a conversation coming up. So
hi, Nathan. This is Adin. Nice to meet you.
Adin, sorry for...
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, so I'm in Austin, to Texas, but...
awesome. Samuel Alexander is also in Austin. That's the gentleman that's joining us today. Yeah.
Nice to see a fellow Austinite then. And I think I've spoken with Shane before, so hello again, sir.
He's a great connector for sure. And Josh Rockwell from my team is on also. He's my paper expert, among many other things.
I like it. Okay, well, this will be a good discussion. So this is recorded. We will share these again so that they become public and viewable again. I really would like to open this up as a discussion. You know, we've got a number of people on our team now who are actively going out and helping to build relationships and connections and educate. And so whatever we learn here, I will definitely take and implement on our end as well. Hello, Zev, it's good to see you. Marnie, it's good to see you. So I'll kind of turn it over to you, Adin, if you want to take this from the lead and kind of give us a little bit background and introduce Sam, if you'd like. I know you guys work together, and Josh, feel free to chime in and anytime. I know you're also part of the team, but yeah, love to share what you're working on. And then, like I said, we'll come back and open it up for questions, but anybody feel free to chime in.
Sure. So first of all, thanks everybody for having us on. I really appreciate it. Zev and I know each other. Zev would be kind of 9 Fiber fan club #1, and has been with me and has taught me quite a bit about this industry. Sandra, hello, how are you? I don't know you, but good to see you. Tim, I've seen your name before, but I haven't met you, and Marnie as well. So, and Morad, hello, Morad. Murad's actually a relative of mine. And Nathan, it's good to meet you earlier. But I'm really excited here, Mandy. So thanks so much for inviting me. And Sam, thanks so much for being a part of this. I know it was last minute. I do want to take a moment to introduce Samuel Alexander. He is from Austin. If the concept of hemp is future focused, Samuel Alexander is way in the future. He's thinking about things and creating pathways to stuff in the tech space that we haven't even begun to think about yet, I think, as an industry. And so I'm excited that Sam had has a moment free to kind of join us and so we can learn more about what he's doing. But Josh Rockwell is part of my team as well. And 9 Fiber is, I think at the heart of what 9 Fiber is we're renegades, right? Just like everybody on this call, we're all just not comfortable with where the world is going. And we're doing our parts collectively to try and change where the world is going. And we're at such a unique intersection of sustainability and reshoring of manufacturing and the focus on kind of a healthier planet's finally trickled to the consumer level, and that this agricultural boom, which I don't think will exist again in our lifetimes, is really the foundation of the platform from which I think all of us here on this call are going to use that platform to make the lasting change that we want to make. And I think one of the things I do want to make sure we all talk about today is these kind of not only these technical applications of hemp, but all the different, like, where is hemp as an ingredient, as a product relative to other things that have been in existence, that have developed, that are at scale globally, and where can we as an industry make the fastest pivots to introduce this material into the supply chain so that it can make a difference, right? And there's a lot of different, at least in my learnings and our team here at Nine Fiber, our learnings are really all about discovering where those opportunities are and where those failures are, so we can pivot quickly onto other things. And then also to collaborate with others like Shane and with Sam and everybody else on this call. So I think it takes a team to get this thing off the ground. We see everybody as collaborators, as in the same effort. Well, I think we're all trying to do the same thing in our own unique ways. So, and some of us, which I'm hoping to learn and we're hoping to share, are further advancing some aspects of this material, and others will be advancing other aspects of this material. So with that, I want to introduce Samuel Alexander.
Hello, everyone. Sam Alexander here in Austin, Texas. My company is called Concept to Consumption Fashion and Technology. We specialize in being the bridge between the fashion industry and the technology industry. The problem with the fashion industry is it doesn't understand technology, and the technology industry doesn't understand fashion. Our focus is to reshore our industry back to the US, and I'm sure all of you have heard about our logistics problems that we're having globally right now. But that's only the beginning of it, because we're also having production problems with all the factories being shut down. So there's a huge issue and an opportunity now for us to reshore everything back to the US. Our main focus, though, is in building this. My background is in AR, VR, MR, XR technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then blockchain technology. Our focus is carbon credits. And we're building out a complete carbon credit for the farmers. We also are working on a grant that will facilitate this. The partners that I work with that on is called Better Carbon Solutions, and we're doing a climate smart commodity proposal. And it will basically help create an education, it's tri-sector, where we take education, private industry, and government, and have them work together to help build our industries back here again. And we're all looking at microeconomies and microsystems versus the macro systems, because those are going to come apart on us as we see the destruction in our ecosystems, from the shipping to the production, all the way through. The systems are breaking down now. So that's kind of like what we're focusing on, is just building out carbon credits and helping the farmers, the ranchers, and the forestry people to develop smarter ways of producing products, and using hemp as one of the products to basically restore the land and help to develop new products from hemp as we go forward. And as we already know all the different products that we can develop from the hemp stem. We're more focused in on the stem than we are on the top, and being able to use a lot of it for construction, for insulation, for batteries. Batteries are our main focus right now, but a lot of different industries that we're working on to develop hemp products here in the US. And then I work with Adin on the implementing into the fashion industry, but we're looking to do that with biotech technology integrated into the fabric versus just basic hemp fabric.
Wow, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. It's amazing that every time Samuel and I get a chance to talk, I always learn more about what the next innovation, the future is going to be. So that's super cool. Super cool.
Well, I'm fortunate to be here in Austin too. This is an innovation city right now.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So with respect to the technical applications of hemp, I think all of us on this call have been understanding hemp and around hemp for quite some time. And I think universally, we can probably all agree that not all hemp is the same. But could I get a thumbs up on that? Is that something that people get? not all hemp is the same. And herein lies what I think is the fundamental hurdle for not only the manufacturers at scale or the industry at scale, because the industry is way behind where we are. We eat, live, breathe, and sleep this stuff. We know what the potential of this material can be. But unfortunately, we've got a massive education curve with respect to the end product manufacturers or the industries as a whole to try to adopt this material. And then that's layered by another level of complexity, that the different cultivars that are grown here versus grown overseas and so on and so forth just behave differently. They behave differently in different soil. They behave differently in different climate. And this is not unlike how cotton was many, many years ago. But a lot of that has been genetically bred out so that we have really kind of two, main cultivars of cotton. And, even with the timber industry, and I think Josh could probably speak to this, with respect to paper, you've got tree farms that largely are controlled so that the variabilities in the pulp are somewhat minimized. And then there's chemistry and stuff that they put onto it to kind of even neutralize any remaining variabilities. But hemp is still all over the place. So from a technical application, a couple of things that I think we all have to ask each other, right? What is the product that we're looking to make an impact, right? Because sustainability will get us in the door, but performance gets the contract. If we are not on par with performance, right? And then also with cost, and we just have a sustainability story. It's not, at least we're finding on through Nine Fibers efforts and through our business development efforts, that it's not enough to open the door. It's not enough to make the contract. It's enough to open the door, but not enough to make the contract. Hemp is very sexy now, especially in the textile industry, where there's a huge concentration of trying to get rid of waste and go more sustainable and lower carbon footprint. It's very consumer facing, which is why it's kind of very popular to be thinking about hemp for textiles. We founded Nine Fiber. That's probably the hardest. Sorry, Sam, it's probably the hardest of our 9 verticals, right? That we want to play in. It's the most technical and the most underdeveloped stateside anyway, with respect to the entire supply chain and intellectual capital to actually run some of this stuff. So we find that to be the hardest, probably will be the most fulfilling and impactful on a certain scale near term, but it's certainly the hardest. With respect to building products and building materials, I think with respect to the technical application of hemp, the first question is why, right? That's kind of the one question we always have to ask ourselves when we're talking about what are we going to put hemp in, right? Is why and who cares? Right? Gypsum is super cheap. And how does hemp compare to a gypsum drywall, for example? What, again, sustainability story, right? But what is the performance story that comes in addition to the sustainability story? And that's really what's going to drive the decisions of the manufacturers and the brands, we feel, to actually start to adopt this material. So, I think with construction materials, the U.S. Hemp Building Association had a huge milestone the other day with getting, that was a huge milestone that happened with getting some ICC recognition and accreditation there. That's the first step in many. ASTM certification is obviously key, but what most people don't also talk about is insurance. You can't get home insurance if you build your house with hemp because the insurance companies don't recognize that as a building material that's safe. So that trickles down to state level and local levels, but that's another barrier as far as an adoption of a technical application to hemp, right? Let's just kind of, just for all of us on the phone or on the call here, if you look at rewind the clock 4 years ago or 5 years ago, we were talking about hemp for animal bedding. And then the ideas of graphene, of building materials, of different types of more technical applications where things were kind of way out in space. Now, all of us on this call are treading in that direction where we've left the animal bedding industry kind of where it is. And now we're all talking about graphene, semiconductors, engineered fiber in different applications, building materials, and so on and so forth. So I find that our trajectory as a community is really trending towards more the technical end of this material versus the basic end of this material, which is kind of where it started, right? Which is the typical progression as we begin to learn more about this material. Sam, you want to jump in on that? And
well, one of the things that you talked about, and I'll kind of move a little bit further with Web3. A lot of the issues that you're saying, especially with insurance, we'll be able to create tokens. They'll create insurance for your house or whatever you need in Web3. Web3 is about to disrupt everything the way we know it, from the insurance industry to the banking industry, all the way across the board. Every industry is going to be affected by the Web3 technology. So a lot of the things that you think of problems now with Web3, they'll come automatically, because there'll be, even with investment capital, you'll have tokens that you can create for your company that you can acquire investment capital. So there's a lot of answers coming to the deals. As far as the technology, we're going to have to move our technology back here, whether we like it or not. And we're going to have to start building products here in the country, because we can't survive as a consumption economy anymore, because we printed as much money as we can print. And even with hemp, I don't think we got enough paper left to print any more money. So, what's sad is 40% of the currency of the US was printed in the last 18 months. So you've got an overabundance of capital out there, but it's a shortage of product. So you're going to see hyperinflation hit us. We're already hitting inflation. Wait till you see hyperinflation hit us. That's when the government's going to have to wake up and say, we've got to start building products here. Right now, as a country, we can only produce 17% of the products we need to sustain ourselves.
Well, that's not good.
Not good at all. And China we're tied at the hip with China, whether we like it or not. And China's having 2 of the major cities are shut down right now in China, Shenzhen and Shanghai. So you've got major production issues that are going to continue to hit us down the road. The shipping cost of shipping right now from China, a container for us a year ago was costing $3,500. It went up as high as $32,000 in the last 4 months. Okay, shipping container ships went from 20,000 a day to $250,000 a day. So it's going to be prohibited for us to import as many products as we want. So now we have robotics coming in, which we can replace the labor force with, that we couldn't afford to replace later with robotics. We have all kinds of new technologies that's coming into existence, going to help us to reshore. Hemp, in my opinion, will be the product, and that's what we're focused in on, is making hemp the product that we build our new industries on, and build all the new industries around the hemp production. And it also will help us in saving some of our trees.
Right. So I think
real quick, somebody told me, and I'd be interested in your perspective on this, especially in the textile space, that China is buying a lot of hemp fiber from Europe because they're moving their fiber production to food production acres. And so they're now shifting their purchase and actually buying from Europe and then processing in China. Are you familiar with that, or have you heard anything around that?
Well, the biggest problem we're all going to have is food in the next 6 to 8 months, right? Because that's going to be a major issue for everyone. And with the last administration, what they did to the farmers in the Midwest with the Chinese, all that production moved to Brazil, and they're cutting the rainforest down now to feed the Chinese.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a huge shift in everything that we're doing. But every time we have one issue over here, it creates another problem for somewhere else. And you cut the rainforest down, that's the lungs of our country. Of our world. It's over with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about sustainability and carbon credits. And even China right now is going into the carbon credits. And our focus mainly is focused in on carbon credits and facilitating them and creating them and distributing them. So that's going to be a major part of our goal for the future.
How much are you doing with that, Adin, on carbon? How much of that is your part of your business plan and structure, I guess?
For us, we're focused on kind of creating regional production facilities and keeping our carbon footprint as small as we possibly can. It's challenging, right? Because we want to be closer to supply, because there's no need to ship air. This material is very light. But what we're also finding is that our customers are also spread out all over the place. So the idea right now is to be as close as possible to the supply, and then eventually start building the supply chain more regionally in different places. Like, for example, because, you know, the growing cycle of hemp, if we're going to go into another state, we have to start planning for that almost 2 years in advance, because we have to make sure we activate the farming community there through our networks, right? Make sure we have our plan in place so that they can grow to what we need at the scale at what we need, local enough or regional enough to our customers, which are going to be in that kind of immediate footprint. So we're addressing climate credit or carbon by really kind of shrinking our footprint as much as we possibly can, and then using additional kind of alternative energy sources like solar and wind wherever we possibly can. Wow, a lot of people coming in from a lot of places. Hello to Ecuador and Bend, Oregon, and a bunch of other places.
Oh yeah.
I do want to bring, if I can, Josh Rockwell into the conversation as an example of for Josh to talk about some of the finickiness of manufacturers, especially in the paper sector, that are really averse to trying anything different, right? I mean, supply chains are crushed right now. And you're finding a lot of, and Sam can speak to this also, that a lot of yarn spinners and fabric makers here that are domestic, along with paper makers and other industries, just don't want to rock the boat. They're overwhelmed with a reduced workforce. They don't want to introduce anything new. They don't want to do any R&D. So Josh, I'd love for you, if you can, just share with the panel, with the group here, your history with paper and how, you know, how we're navigating through some of this.
Yeah, so I've been in paper for 2 millennia. I started back in 1999. I've actually known people. My dad was in a mill for 33 years, and I'd been going to the mill since I was a kid, basically, having lunch with the guys and fishing out back. And I actually just had a call 2 days ago with one of the production managers there. I was there over Christmas break and talked to them about doing some continuous improvement work, and they were all for it. And since then, they've gotten a bunch of new orders, and just like everywhere else, labor shortage, those production managers are now actually out running the production lines. And I asked them about, hey, you know, can I come in, help you guys out to find simple and easy things that don't disrupt the production, to help increase production, reduce waste, you know, all these things. And they said no. You know, I said, well, you know, even if it's like no disruption, like simple and easy, free, cheap, no, we don't have the focus for that. We can't risk anything. A single pound of paper, we can't risk. We don't have the focus for it. And that's been my experience through my entire career. Anytime the economy gets tough or it gets screaming hot, and their production is sold out for months, nobody wants to take any risk. I mean, they got to make their bologna sandwich and cut it the same way every day. I mean, there's just no risk tolerance whatsoever. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, the risk is what they need to really do better. But they just won't do it. It's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of uneducated folks. I mean, you know, non-college folks. In fact, there's plenty of non-high school graduates in the paper industry. And so they just don't have the experience and knowledge, which kind of breeds into that, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality, because I barely understand things the way they are now.
Work harder, not smarter. Just keep working.
Just keep working. Just keep working harder. You know, it's not about working smarter. It's just work hard. Don't change things. So it's just a really tough industry, and it's kind of like you got to be in that middle ground where things are okay for people to kind of loosen up. Otherwise, they're afraid of any risk that could jeopardize a delivery, which could you know, risk that whole account, which also, you know, there's a tremendous amount of cognitive dissonance, because if that were to happen and they lost the account, it would go to somewhere else, but everywhere is sold out. So that kind of thinking just doesn't even make sense, but they can't seem to wrap their heads around that. even if it's put right in front of them.
So as a technical hurdle, the paper industry comprises of tissue, comprises of cardboard, comprises of specialty paper,
right,
comprises of a bunch of different kind of terms that lay people consider differently than folks in the industry. The technical application of that is, I say the roadblock to that, right, is the fear that it's going to screw something up, right? That's the fear.
Yeah, I mean, and you get people thinking like, the machine's going to fall through the floor if something goes wrong, and it's just going to be an absolute disaster. When in reality, like if we start to see things going sideways a little bit, we slowly turn it up, the change, and then we can just, if we're up to 10%, it's not looking great, we just turn it off. It's that simple. But people just have this irrational fear of the whole thing's going to explode and we're not going to have jobs tomorrow. It's just really irrational.
I think the other interesting thing about paper, when folks think about hemp in paper, is there's a kind of a common thought that you can just kind of, grab the hurd or grab the fiber and just send it to the paper maker, and then they'll figure it out, and it's going to just work fine. And it's
not like the textile industry likes that.
right. So it's like way more complicated than that. And I would say to everybody on the phone, your environmental labs, your specialty labs that are in these technical spaces that we want to get into, those are really the holders of all the information. Those folks will tell you how your material needs to be presented in order for it to be successful in the end product application. I think I joke with my team all the time that 5 years ago, I was a consumer, right? And then I fell into hemp and the understanding of hemp and the power of hemp. And I essentially took the red pill to make a matrix reference. And now I can't unsee, and I'm sure everybody else on this call is the same way. You just can't unsee how things are made. But then you take it a level deeper and you surround yourself with engineers and people that actually make these things. And you show them, well, I've got hemp. They're like, well, great. What's the material spec on it? Well, I don't know. Well, okay. Does it have CBD in it for starters? No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, what are the metal content? What is the lignin content? What is the hemicellulose content? What are all the contaminants? And by the way, since it's an organic, the sample that you hand them is going to be different than the next sample that you hand them. So what's the variance? What's the range of variance, and how is that acceptable to the product or to the engineer of the product that's being made? And I think those are all the layers of technicality that all of us as industry leaders need to really own, because it won't scale into these products that we want it to get into unless we start looking at it from that perspective. Josh, I know you've got a couple thoughts on that.
Yeah. Like I've run, and I tell you that other story, the backstory of it, just to tell you, like, I've got decades of relationship with these folks and they still don't want to take the risk. And so, I've done like softwood trials, hardwood trials, eucalyptus, all these different fibers, right? Replacing one softwood with a different softwood from a different part of the country or continent. And those can turn out to be quite different. So, and it takes quite a while sometimes to dial a machine back in to get back to optimum parameters, because there's so many variables on a paper machine, for example, that are constantly changing. And so people get to understand what they're currently working with and how to make changes and adjustments based on those set of circumstances and those materials. So if you throw something else at them, it's a whole new learning curve that they have to develop. And so bringing hemp to the game, I know it will be successful, but it brings a whole nother level of risk and variability to the process. So that's just something that we have to keep in mind. To Adin's point, sometimes I've seen, systems running perfectly well, and then out of nowhere, to his point, knowing the specs, a buyer or purchaser will make a spot buy of some recycled pulp, for example. That's happened before. And then when I was a chemical vendor in charge of the contaminant control program, I got blamed for all of a sudden the machine getting trashed. My chemical wasn't working, as if it was, having a mood swing or something. or a bad day. And of course, I had to dig and dig and dig and found out that the buyer had made a spot buy of this really contaminated pulp. Well, we got a great deal on it. Well, yeah, but you more than made up for it in destroying the machine and, a day and a half's worth of production. So these kind of things are very sensitive. We do need to understand all of the specifics behind it. It's not just a plug and play. Just because we can make it work in the lab, to Adin's point, doesn't mean it's going to work on the machine. There is a lot of variability there, and we just need to understand that to be able to know how to prepare for it once we go to scale up. And there's not really, in most places, unless you buy pilot machine time, which is only a few of those in the world, you're just going from the lab making hand sheets to full scale production, and there's nothing really in between. So it's a really big leap, and there has to be that risk tolerance in the mills to be able to take that step for them.
Sam, there's a question in the group chat. First of all, hello to Poland. A lot going on over there where you guys are. I hope everybody's okay with what's going on over there. Poland is a huge hemp producer. Ukraine was, I hope still is, in some parts of it anyway. So hello to Poland and New Mexico and California and Illinois. But Sam, there was a question about the idea of robotics versus putting people to work. There's a question of understanding the reasoning and the benefits. Would you weigh in on that?
Yeah, most of our production left the U.S. because of our labor costs. And now we're moving completely away from mass production into make to measure. So all the technologies that I spoke about earlier are being utilized in our production cycle. We built out our first advanced manufacturing facility here in Austin, and I partnered with Gerber Technology. They gave me $13.5 million to build a facility here. We incorporated it into the university and partnered with the city of Austin. So tri-sector is the way we work. And now we have the universities doing the research and development on soil quality and seed quality of different seeds that will grow in the different areas. So they're doing all that research for us. So that's all incorporated into the tri-sector. The Department of Commerce has been helping me to build factories, and we've got a second one going up in Detroit and a third one going up in Arizona now. So we are already reshoring, but we're doing it on tri-sector, and we're taking complete control of the whole cycle versus depending on other people. Because as I said earlier, most of the people have their foot stuck in the analog world, and they're trying to move to the digital world, and they're stuck in between and it's pulling them apart. We're completely going to transfer the whole thing over digital and move in that direction. Even with the project that we're working on now, we're getting a grant from the government, and it's going to be to help the farmers to be able to control the types of seeds, the type of growth, the type of soils. We have another product that we're bringing in from Bulgaria called Zeolite that will actually help the hemp grow twice as fast as it normally does. So we've got a lot of things that we're working on that are part of the complete ecosystem versus trying to fix a piece of it. We're just reinventing the whole system.
I think what's interesting with all of us on the phone here is that we're all trying to figure out where we can put this material. Everybody's concerned about cost, right? Where can we put this material? Where can we insert it? And we're all concerned about cost. But we are in, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, we are in a unique environment. We are in a unique environment where sustainability opens the door. Cost, because we are in an inflationary environment, this is the time to introduce this material into those applications that we're all trying to get it introduced into, because the higher cost is buried under the inflation. So this is the time to do that work. If you can find your industrial partner, your end product manufacturer, and you can meet those specs, this is the time to introduce that material into those end products. And at 9 Fiber, we've spent the last 4 years or so finding some of those end customers, doing some of that work, and more importantly, refining our technology so that we can convert and clean the hemp herd or the hemp fiber so that it's ready to be used in some of these technical applications that require a very clean, degummed, decontaminated product. Not every product requires that, but the ones that do, we feel that we're really able to kind of lead those discussions. And actually, we're doing a lot of educating for our end customers as well, and working collaboratively with them, because we need to learn what their specs are, right? And I think that's the challenge for everybody on this call, right? Is to understand what the specs are. And a lot of these companies are very tight with their specs. It takes a lot of work just to get to that point. And if you send somebody a blind sample and they have a negative experience, the chances that they're going to engage with you in a conversation to change that experience is pretty slim, especially in this environment. So I think that I challenge everybody on this call today, whether you're in Ecuador or in Illinois, New Mexico, or the great country of North Florida. I was going to say Florida. That we try to work collaboratively, because if we don't collectively try to get this material into these respective markets, and some of them are low-hanging fruit, some of them are much more aspirational, then the industry and everything that we're working for really ends. For a material that sequesters 4 times or more the amount of carbon in 110 days than a tree does in the same period or at its maturity, and to not be able to take advantage of that, to Sam's earlier point, to not push that production so that it can get to scale, is a disservice to everything we're all working on. So that's kind of my thought to it.
But that's a part of the financing that we'll need to move this industry forward, is the carbon credits. Those carbon credits are financial to move everything forward.
I'm going to turn it over to Zev real quick. He's got a question, but I think that, and I've said this for a minute, the carbon credits are almost like the subsidy that corn and wheat and some of these other commodities have. It makes it so you can compete on these markets, right? But I hear over and over again, because the validity of the market or the lack of stability of the market, that the carbon market, that it's a little bit worrisome to add that as that financial piece to a business plan, basically, right now. But go ahead, Zev.
Thank you, Mandi, and thank you all, Adin, Samuel, Joshua, much appreciated. The question I have, and Adin actually just touched on it, is given the incredible requirements and the difficulty of getting attention and just finding the way in, what do all of you think is, for right now, the lowest hanging fruit in the, well, for fiber maybe, but maybe in paper or whatever? I'd love to hear your thoughts about what is the lowest hanging fruit right now, because I think we need to begin the process of showing that we can do something with this material before we get into the really sophisticated things that we ultimately want to see it involved with.
I'll jump in real quick on that. The fashion industry is the lowest hanging fruit you're going to find right now. We are a $2.5 trillion industry, and we're in the process of reshoring and rebuilding everything from a sustainable standpoint. Right now, we are tied to the hip with the petrochemical industry, and we're the second largest polluter in the world. And so we have to change our ways. And most of these companies don't even understand carbon credits, that they're going to have to start paying carbon credits based on the pollution. 80% of the fashion that we produce ends up in landfills. We produce 20% of all the wastewater for the whole world. So we are at the point to where we have to make this move, and we're at the best timing, and the opportunity is now. Adin and I have been working together for almost a year now, year and a half, on just trying to pull everything together and coordinate everything and get everything up and rolling. And what I'm doing on one end, and what he talked about earlier, was decentralized collaboration. That's our focus. There's no more silos in any industries, and there's no more industries. Everything is IoT. Anything that can be connected will be connected. And the only thing that'll have value are the things you cannot connect. And what we're moving into is a whole new dimension. You've got new mobility, new energy, and new communication. Anytime you have those 3 things come into existence, you have a paradigm shift. We're in the largest paradigm shift in the history of the world. And hemp is probably the most powerful tool we can have on this earth right now. It replaces all the bad things that we have out there. All we have to do is put our focus in it and take it forward.
Samuel, you're right, except trying to shove hemp into known production processes is...
We build our own. We build our own. Build them from the ground up.
You can.
Build our own. Build our own, and the government will finance it.
Zev, I think, I mean, from my perspective, from what I've seen in the marketplace, I think textiles is interesting. Certainly a lot of focus on textiles, for sure. I think the right strains and cultivars and the right cleaning, the degumming, the decontamination, the other kind of chemical steps that need to bring it on shore are scaling. We're in that conversation. Nine Fiber's in that conversation, but scaling like others. I think you've got a good play in bioplastics, again, depending on how clean your incoming ingredient material is, because it is problematic when it's a high lignin or a high hemicellulose or high metal content. And I think you've got a decent play at some craft paper if you can get to the mill. And get the mill to do that. There's a couple mills in the Northeast that are very small that are doing some hemp paper, and they would gladly take some supply, given their current hemp paper or hemp pulp is dominated by one place in Spain. So getting something else to folks that are domestic is a good start. The trick there is that since that hemp pulp from Spain has been in existence for such a long time, it has a spec, and that spec has been tested. So if our material or your material can meet that spec, that's the way to get the door open to those mills. That's usually kind of the quickest way to do it. At least that's my experience. I don't know, Josh, you may want to weigh in on that, to match an existing spec that's already been approved.
I mean, that's going to be the easiest way in. From I'm a chemical process engineer. So from the scientific engineering standpoint, this stuff is a pretty amazing material. It's like the soy of the industrial world, I think, to build off of what Zev was saying. So I think it's going to revolutionize things, along with what Sam said as well. The easiest way is to match what you're already doing. The only catch is you got to do it at a lower cost. From there, then once we are in, then we can start to manipulate that material and try to get more out of it. I think there's more to be had versus just matching current fibers that are out there. But if that's what gets us in the door, great. Let's do that. And once it's in the door, people are much more willing to turn the knobs and pull the levers, so to speak. Once it's there, they're kind of comfortable with it. So I think that's the best way to go. And without being just Debbie Downer on all the negative side of things, there is interest in the paper industry. I think it's got that hemp has a very big role to play in the future of paper making. From the economics that I've seen, it's much lower. And then from a sustainability standpoint, it's a tremendous improvement over tree cellulose. And I believe that there's a lot more efficiency within the manufacturing realm that hemp can bring with all of its properties. I think there's a lot more optimizing that we can be doing once we get it in the door. So to your point, yes, matching what's already there will get us in the door. Then we can optimize from there.
Does that help, Zev?
Excuse me?
I was asking Zev if that helped. I'd love to open up the floor to others on the call. I know there's a lot of movement going on in the chat here.
Saw the question that just came in, wondering if you can speak to the market correction with hemp and waste material coming in from the cannabis industry.
That's an interesting, and Samit has a hand raised as well. So we'll get to Samit after that. So Morad, that's a really interesting question. A lot of confusion on that. The main difference between the two is that cannabis waste, meaning stalk and stem waste from the and for all of us on the phone, we all know that cannabis means hemp and marijuana. But to answer this question, I'm going to use the term cannabis to mean marijuana. If that's okay with everybody? I'd like to just kind of keep it that way. The cannabis waste is regulated in just about in all the states that it's legal, except for Colorado and in Maryland. In those two states, largely due to Nine Fiber's work and our legislative efforts, we were able to change those laws to allow that material to be diverted from landfill or from just field burning to be able to be upcycled into sustainable material ingredients. There still is a handling registration piece to that, and the Maryland legislation is not fully baked. So there's some holes in that legislation, but Colorado is pretty clear. The material behaves differently, Morad. It is loaded with lignin and loaded with nutrients because it is bred specifically to put as much flower out as possible and push the production as much as possible. Cannabis cultivation happens weekly at scale versus hemp is annually, or if Samuel can get this product stateside 3 times a year. But mainly cannabis is a weekly waste yield. So you have all this waste that's going into landfills at this point. All the market information on industrial hemp and all the products that are traditionally made from industrial hemp do not take into any consideration CBD waste or cannabis waste as part of that feedstock. So I think it's, if you can process it, and if the mechanically or chemically or otherwise, that's just additional material that then goes into your pile of viable material. I hope that helps answer that question.
Go ahead. There's a follow-up question. I don't know if you want to go ahead and ask that right now, Morad. There you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for answering my question, Adin. You're quite on point in what you said. I appreciate that. But it was you went exactly where I thought you would go. With regard to Maryland and Colorado, there is a possibility. There's plenty of capital in Maryland. You could get started in taking some of the feedstock off your hands and use it in your processing, number one. Number two, processing-wise, you could take some of the nutrients out in the way you process the fiber. And third, as you know, anybody who is processing marijuana for sale has a huge, massive waste disposal problem. Absolutely. So you could they would be paying you a tipping fee for the amount of waste they need to get rid of, and you have a source of capital by which to start financing some of the things that you're talking about.
So Morad, I think those are great points that you bring up, and that is part of our overall vision. When we first started, when 9Fiber first started, we really saw the waste streams from CBD, hemp, and cannabis as being kind of the main inputs for us. But now that we understand the size of the industrial hemp market, the size of the verticals, the types of products that this material can go into, it's become clear to us that the waste stream from cannabis and CBD really is maybe 10% of what overall is needed at scale. So Morad, we are looking to start our operations in Colorado because they are at scale with respect to production of industrial hemp and able to supply what we need. It's going to take Maryland a season or two to get to that scale, and they won't grow unless there's a contract there for them to grow, which is always the chicken or egg problem with the supply chain.
Well, and I want to add too, before
Thank you very much.
Passed over for our last question, is that concern on processing quality, right? On a cannabis crop and fiber quality based on when it's harvested, into being able to create a clean herd or an actual process, separated fiber where those nodes hold on to the fiber. Is that something you run into with your equipment specifically also?
So, I mean, that's kind of, we address that to extent. We clean that herd and that material to have it ready for these kind of different applications. The fiber we're finding is great for non-woven. It's problematic. There's a waste yield because the fiber that's bundled onto those nodes, it's trash. It just becomes dumped out. So there is a significant waste yield as far as what's viable to go into a non-woven product. But when it's cleaned, and it's difficult to clean, it certainly will make a good source of material. Yeah. Samit.
Hey, hi everyone. So I'm Shamit. I'm working as a process improvement engineer with natural fiber welding at Peoria, Illinois. By its name, you can assume that our company is fully dedicated and committed to sustainability.
Love what you guys are doing, by the way. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Currently, you are working with the cotton, but I was thinking, and actually, we are thinking to start something with hemp fiber as well. But according to my research, that actually the problem with hemp fiber is that the degumming. So it starts with if you don't have enough degumming process, or if you have a strong degumming process that can take out the lignin properly, but at the same time it can contain or keep the fiber properties intact, then it will not be feasible to make a finer hemp yarn. So you'll have to make sure. So my question is to you first, that how can we make sure that the fiber that might be required for yarn production or textile yarn production, where can we get those kinds of hemp that might have the properties intact for being spun into textile yarn? So according to you, the contamination, the lignin amount proportion and the hemicellulose proportion might vary a lot, but is there any standard, or is there any kind of species, or is there any kind of a hemp fiber that can be used directly for the textile yarn production?
That's a great question. And I think that ties into what Samuel is standing up or trying to stand up, both with the focus on the textiles. And I think you guys really should connect. Natural fiber welding has got some phenomenal technology, and reusing or using the shorts from cotton production, the waste from cotton production, and making that as a spinnable fiber. I think that's fantastic. So that we do an eco-friendly degumming process is what 9Fiber focuses on, right?
That's good.
So we are able to remove the lignin. What we're finding is that the tensile properties are different from strain to strain that we've worked on. So part of our focus, and I'm sure part of everyone's focus on this call, is to really kind of understand the different cultivars, where they're grown, how they perform, because Jinma, for example, that's grown in Colorado is going to have different properties than Jinma grown in Michigan. And so on and so forth. So we're still, I think the entire US industry is still at the very beginning. I would even say in India, it's at the very beginning of understanding how all these cultivars work. But we can certainly supply some sample material to you and then start from there. We've got a few different cultivars that we've processed, and we can continue to look at other stuff. So yeah. Sam, you got something you may want to add to that?
No, I just wanted to go back to one of the questions that was asked about the robotics, and I'm not looking to take away jobs from people, but to add opportunity here. And there's also opportunity in robotics and AI for new people that are out there willing to work at a higher pay level, because right now we lost our industry because we didn't have people that were willing to work at those pay levels and do that type of work. So we're not looking to replace people. We're looking to bring new jobs back.
I agree with you, Samuel, because I also work as a machine learning engineer responsible person as well for natural fiber welding, where my responsibility is to automate the manufacturing process and quality control process. So when we are processing the yarn, it's our responsibility to find out a way so that we can measure whether the yarn is going or deviating from its standards or not during the production, so that we can troubleshoot our machine and fix it. So it's actually all increasing the job opportunities, job functions. It's not actually taking away jobs.
No.
So, and Adin, my next question to you will be like, what's the difference? Why we can't use cottonized hemp? What are the benefits of and the merits and demerits of using cottonized hemp over using 100% hemp?
Well, I think the word cottonize is a word that's kind of thrown around. You can't really cottonize hemp. You can degum it and make it softer to a certain extent. And that's the advantages of that, I think, are being able to use maybe a finer yarn count. So instead of being stuck with a 12-1 or a 10-1, you can move more into 14, 15-1. You're not going to get 30 ones unless you're doing viscose, right? Which is an entirely different process. And for those of you guys, I want to share a little status with you. The lyocell process is the amount, the quality of cellulose in lyocell, which is like modal and tensile. And you would know this, Sumit, more than I would. I'm just repeating a stat that I heard. It's less than 1% of the entire timber cellulose availability, has the right quality to go into a lyocell process, right? And 2% of that is what becomes Modal 10 cell. So it is remarkably interesting how clean something has to be. But Sumit, to your point, why is it better to use a cottonizer or a cleaned hemp versus a raw hemp? Your raw hemp is going to have its functions as well, like coarse denims, outerwear, canvases, and so on. And then your degummed and delignined hemp is going to be probably more applicable for finer applications. A nice blend, for example, for a t-shirt or a pair of pants or a suit or something along those lines. So I think both raw and processed have applications in the entire kind of textile portfolio is the best way I can explain it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adin. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining. Any other questions before we're almost at an hour? We thought we'd have 30 minutes. I knew that when you said that. I was like, we'll get out of here in 30 minutes. These guys stay and talk for a long time. They've got all kinds of questions. But any other questions that we want to be sure to touch on? Anybody else? Anything else?
So Samuel said he was located in Austin. Where is Josh and I'm sorry.
Adin. Not Adin. 2 deans, but Adin. Just think about it that way.
Where are y'all located?
I'm in Long Beach, California.
Oh, beautiful place.
Josh is in Long Beach. 9 Fibers headquarters is in Silver Spring, Maryland, just north of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
But our pilot production offices are outside of Detroit. And then we hope to stand up our commercial operations in Colorado. So that's where we are in many places. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for everything. Thanks for sharing, guys. And thanks, Mandi, for putting this all together. I know you may not get quite the props you deserve, but we appreciate you.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you for that. Dr. Hall, do you have anything you want to share real quick? I saw your hand was up.
Oh, yes. Hey, don't forget about animal products. I know someone was mentioning animal products. People love their animals. It's a trending market, especially millennials. And it's a great way to introduce people, educate. Poco a poco, bit by bit, little by little. Thank you.
You are so right, Dr. Hall. And I think CBD or CBD products are already kind of made their way into pet products, but there's an entirely different application with respect to pet toys, and
clothing,
carpet, pet beds,
bedding.
and clothing, right? All those other things.
I would love to see hemp textiles with anything having to do with animal products. I'm your gal.
Wonderful. we made a generation 1 hemp or hemp based pet bed for that size dog that's right there in your picture. We made them in Asia. We actually took a bunch of our waste fiber during COVID when everybody was shut down and sent it over to Asia, and they blended it with their hemp along with our stuff and we came up with like 80 different blends, because what else are you going to do during a pandemic? And right, and we made some prototype some pet beds with recycled denim as the filler, and really, really great stuff. Yeah, we can talk about that separately.
And the other thing is, I'm a holistic integrative doctor. I think we could use hemp as part of feeds and feeding for all domesticated species, and that does include aquaponics. Aquaponics is the most efficient, effective, expedient way to grow food anywhere on the planet. And I have selected 5 animal production systems. I'm a former USDA Veterinary Services Federal Veterinary Medical Officer, and have been trained in all the food animal production systems. So therefore, all domestic species are on tap with my clinic. Cows, goats, horses, pigs, what have you, chickens, and fish, of course. We can use hemp as a feed product. So I'm seeking folks who want to collaborate. Thanks.
That's fantastic. I think the USDA is starting to look into that specifically.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we need research, folks. Folks want to do research.
Yeah. I think Colorado State University, I don't know other ones. Maybe Penn State, but I know Colorado State is doing some research there in that world.
Colorado State is doing it, yes. Yeah. I was there for 20 years, and I'm now in Southern Cal. I think I heard someone else is in Southern Cal. I grew up here, so that's where I'm at, near Disneyland. Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody.
You stay home, California folks. You stay in your state. They're all moving into my state and get them out. Like, stay over in your state. So one more question, and then I want to show you guys something as a tool that we have through. There were a couple of questions about like, where will this interview be shared and how do we connect and what tools are available. So after this last question, I'd like to show you real quick Hemp Hallway and how you log in. And then you can find all of our interviews there. But Marina?
What was Marina's question?
I think she's answering. I think she's, there you go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, it was for me, Mariana. More than a question, I only want to introduce myself. I am Mariana Larrea from Mexico. I work I'm an attorney, a life science attorney here in Mexico. All cannabis matters are regulated by the general health law, so are in life science area. I was a speaker in the LATAM panel back in NOCO Hemp Expo. And well, my presentation was about what is going on here about cannabis and particularly speaking about hemp, right? So the firm is a medium big firm with more than 70 years in the market. And I've been working in cannabis matters since 2015, when all the cannabis regulations started here in Mexico. As Adin mentioned it, yes, here in Mexico, cannabis is marijuana and hemp, right? We do not have this difference in the law or anything, but well, only giving you like a short resume about what is happening here in Mexico. All the industrial products containing cannabis or cannabinoids with no more than 1% of THC are allowed to be imported and commercialized here in Mexico. When I speak about industrial, I am referring to cosmetics, food, and non-alcoholic beverage, obviously, supplements, dietary supplements, and I already mentioned cosmetics, right? Those are regulated by COFEPRIS. COFEPRIS is a federal authority, is the similar of FDA in the United States. Okay. And these products can be imported and commercialized legally, fully legally, without any tricks or any move of attorneys. No, these products are allowed. I have clients that nowadays they are importing and they are commercializing this in Mexico. And we have the other industrial products, paper, hemp, crate, all the fiber products, etc. Those also can be imported, and those are not aimed to any special authorization by COFEPRIS or anything. So I can tell that the hemp industrial market is 100% legal in Mexico. Wonderful. The only thing we need to go through by a legal procedure is growing hemp. Growing hemp, yes, we will need to, if anyone is interested in growing hemp here in Mexico, I can help you, like in particular, explaining all the legal process, but basically we can do through an amparo legal procedure, we can ask for the specific authorization for growing hemp. It's a legal procedure, a little more time we will need for this, but also it is possible. This company, Zebra Brands, won the last amparo lawsuit on December, and they now can grow hemp here in Mexico. So all importation, commercialization, we're okay. Growing hemp, we need a special authorization by the authority, but the final message is hemp industry is legal in Mexico. So please, if anyone is interested, I will be very happy to help and to give you more information about what is happening here in Mexico. Thank you very much.
I would love to hear more. As a matter of fact, I want to make sure that you and Josh Rockwell get together. We do have an interest, and we do have some industrial partners in Mexico that are hung up on some of the legalities that you're saying don't no longer exist. So definitely want to, Mandi, would you do us a favor and connect us, please? We definitely would like to hear your thoughts more on some of the issues that we're dealing with.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
and that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to show you guys something really quick on Hemp Hallway. I'm going to share my screen just really fast, and then we'll be done. I feel like this was a great conversation today. There was a lot of sharing and a lot of connecting, and so I'm really proud of that. It makes me happy. But this is part of our Hemp Hallway platform. You'll see here if you log in, we've mapped out a lot of people. Anybody that's attended our meetings in the last 6 months is on our platform. You can search by different territories or regions. And then in the media center, this is where I guess I want to ask first. You guys can see this. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Inside the media center is where all of our meetings are. All of our meetings like this are typed out and transcribed and available by notes for anybody on Hemp Hallway. So you can go by date or topic. They're all tagged. And then also under our interviews, you can see here, there's 114 interviews that are available here. And then on our YouTube channel, something like 200 interviews. I think there's 315 total. And so you can see not just a meeting like this, but any of our past connections. And the purpose of building this is so that you guys have a resource and a place where you can go back and say, hey, I heard something from this company or from Adin or from Josh or Sam and said, hey, what was that? Or how do I connect them? And now you have a platform here to do that. You can actually chat with people, search projects, different organizations and companies. But this is really a LinkedIn or a tool for us within the industry to connect and find out who's who. So you can see here different companies that are on also. So that's really what I wanted to share.
That's fantastic, Mandi.
Setting up the map's my favorite. Shane's story is actually one of my favorite, and I've heard it over and over again since that, you can get on and search by territory or topic or name or type of company and then find out who's in your state. And there have been multiple people that are like, I didn't know somebody else was processing just down the block from me. Or when you're looking for a textile provider or a fiber, production or processor, it's easy here. I have started to map out our processors. They're not all mapped out yet, so I'm not sure. Oh yeah, you're not sharing screen. So I was like, I'm not sure if I want to show you, but I have started to put all of our processors on here as well. So you'll get an idea of where everybody is. But that is part of our Hemp Hallway. So hemphallway.com. And then if you've heard anything today, please go to our YouTube channel and I did share the link, but please subscribe. We're getting really close to being able to open up or unlock some additional benefits to YouTube and then be able to potentially monetize and help our association as well outside of just our membership. So yeah, I would love your guys' support. I tell people, I'm not asking you to watch all my videos, just turn them on in the background, let them. But other than that, you guys, I would love any of you that are on. I'd love to, have you on as a guest, be able to open up questions. I will send intros. If you guys have any specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me at any time. Adin, Sam, Josh, do you guys have anything that you guys want to add before we sign off?
I guess maybe just a quick comment, building off of what Samuel is saying about automation and jobs. I'm an efficiency expert. I'm constantly looking at ways to do things better, cheaper, faster. And that's one of the first questions I get is, are you trying to eliminate my job? And the short answer to that is no. And the little bit longer answer is, I'm always looking for ways to do things differently to free people up potentially to get onto other projects. There's always more to do. There's always more. We wish we had the time, the people, the resources to do X, Y, Z. And there's always more projects to do. So it's a shifting of responsibilities to higher value projects. And if there's ever a need, which is very rare, to actually reduce headcount, that can be taken care of with natural attrition with the company, of retirements or people leaving the company. And those are so infrequent. And so are the times where labor needs go down. There's always hands on deck that need to be used for other things that can provide more value to the company. And then the goal is to reduce operating costs to then give the sales team a better selling platform of lower cost and higher margins, so they can hopefully go out and grow the business, which then in turn means more people. So that's what I'm always driving for is more employment, not less. And automation is part of that process too.
I'm all about the more and more that I learn about AI and machine learning and our need to be able to compete on a global scale with price. It goes back to that ability to increase consistency while decreasing human error.
Yeah. It's a short-term decrease need, but in turn, you're shifting the needs somewhere else. So that those people will always be moved somewhere else more valuable.
And it makes it so that we can, I mean, think about all these ancillary businesses and additional products that will come from product. Yeah, I could go on and on because I'm
me too.
Sam, anything?
I'd like to thank you, Mandi. Thank you for even creating this platform and for giving everybody the space to be able to kind of have these discussions. Sam, thank you so much for joining. I know it was last minute inviting you to be part of this, but thank you for clearing your schedule and allowing to be part of this. I really appreciate that as well. This has been a really great discussion, and I look forward to having another one in the future with everybody as we've all kind of progressed down the road a little bit.
Absolutely.
And we're all right now in just the beginning of this, and it's going to be fun because as long as we work together, it's going to grow very, very fast. And there's a lot of technology that's out there that's going to help us to grow. And one of the things that we're focused on is implementing that technology.
So exciting. I'll be honest, as I've, sitting on the side of reviewing grants and reviewing investments and having investors come to the table, a lot of them are looking for AI and machine learning and ways to, more of it, I think, has been not about cutting costs, about increasing efficiencies and
right? Yeah.
And consistencies, right? To be able to know if I put a bale of straw in, I know exactly what the quality of that straw is all the way through the processing. Like
engineers love consistency.
Yes.
We hate variability.
We have a saying that AI knows the answer to the question before you even know the question.
I get that very much. Okay, well, again, you guys, I would love to have you, Mariana, I'd love to have you come back. Sam, I'd love to dive into textiles and of course, NFTs and blockchain. That's again, another piece that's big in this industry. And so I'd love to invite you guys back anytime. Adin, anything you need, yell at me and we'll see you guys later.
Okay, bye-bye guys.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Absolutely, see you guys later.